The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
Hi, I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools, and I am so delighted to welcome our guest today, Katie Furden, 5th grade teacher at Franklin Elementary School and a 2019 Distinguished New Educator in Santa Barbara County. Katie, congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk with you and to share your story and journey as a teacher and all the things that happen in your classroom. It's really, really exciting for us too. But before we go into that, let's talk about just your childhood and background and where you were born and raised and what it looked like growing up.
Yeah, I'm originally from Northern California, Walnut Creek, East Bay. I grew up there on an acre of land, so we spent a lot of time outside. My mom did an in-home daycare my whole life, so there was always little kids around. I also come from a blended family, so it was just always a lot of people.
Lots of activity going on.
Yeah, and high energy. So yeah, I mean, the house was always, it always felt warm and it was always full, and it was a great experience growing up there.
And so where did you end up going to college and what did you major in?
Yeah, I went to San Diego State University and I majored in criminal justice. I wanted to be, my original plan was to be an attorney. I wanted to go to law school. I even went as far as taking my LSAT. Then my plans kind of shifted, and here I am. I'm a teacher now.
That really did shift. You really turned a corner there.
Yeah.
What made you turn that corner? What really influenced your decision to go into teaching?
While I was studying for the LSATs, I got a job teaching at a preschool, a local community preschool, just as an assistant, as an aide. And I just fell in love with the children. And I realized that, I mean, my passion has always been to help people find their voice. And that's kind of always why I wanted to be an attorney. But then I realized, well, what if I can help children find their voice?
Yes.
And that's kind of how that shifted. And then it opened up like, wow, I really want to be in the field of education.
Katie, do you think that the experience of having the daycare and preschool environment, I think it was a preschool and daycare at your home, influenced that too? It sounds like it was almost a merge of wanting the legal piece and the voice of people and preschool and a voice. Do you think that really impacted your decision too?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I come from, my mom now is a director of a preschool and my sister's a teacher. So I come from that, the
value.
Right.
Yes. Right.
So it was kind of an easy, as soon as I was in that preschool, I was like, this is it.
Got it. So you really, you didn't go from preschool to teaching. There was a year abroad.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. What was that experience like and what did you learn and did you enjoy it?
Oh yes, of course. Anytime I can relive that experience.
Okay, good.
I spent a year in Cambodia in Southeast Asia, actually just shy of a year, 11 months. And I went there and became a TESOL teacher. So I was teaching English as a second language, a first grade teacher in an international school. And I chose Cambodia. I'm kind of a history buff. So I did a lot of research on the country and with, the whole genocide that came in with the Khmer Rouge. I just became fascinated and I really wanted to go there and make a difference. And I thought, I just had found out that I really wanted to be a teacher. I'm like, this is the place to go and really test it out and see if this is it for you. And plus I got to just take in the rich culture and everything while I was there. So it was a great experience.
Looking at the light in your eyes as you talk about it seems like you really loved it. And it really just propelled you into what you're doing now.
Right.
Yeah. Was it hard to leave?
It was. I mean, I definitely miss my family. So that part, coming home, was really nice to see everyone and be reunited. But
Right.
I mean, still to this day, like if anyone talks about, Asia or Cambodia, I'm always like, oh, really? Like it just is, it's a second home to me.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to the day that I get to go back.
That's really fascinating. It really probably impacts who you are as a teacher too. Probably comes through in many different ways. Let us talk about Franklin Elementary because this is your third year.
Yes.
You've been at Franklin all three. How did you find yourself in Santa Barbara Unified and Franklin Elementary?
Okay, so my sister was up here teaching, and I had decided that I wanted to come up here for graduate school. So I applied to Antioch University, and then I came up here and did the master's in the teaching credential program. And then I did my first placement down in Catalino and Carpinteria, and then my second placement was at Franklin.
Okay, got it. And so when it was time to have an opening, it was right there. You were very used to it.
Yep.
You probably had fallen in love with it.
Yes.
And that was your school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have heard that you do amazing things at Franklin. Obviously, you're a distinguished new educator in Santa Barbara County, one of only 3. But one of the hallmarks, I think, of your teaching from talking with your principal is really the culture that you create in your classroom. And say a little bit about how you create that and why it's so important.
Yeah, well, I spend a lot of energy, as well as the kids, I believe, spend a lot of energy creating and maintaining that our classroom culture. And I would say that it takes a lot of work. And we do morning meeting every morning, where we, learn the value of goal setting and of self-awareness, and how to be a good human being and the qualities that you need to possess in order to be a good human being. All of those kind of conversations that we have with each other, and then we, throughout the day, check in and make sure that that's where we're at. And then for me as a teacher, then to see my students doing it with each other is really, that's kind of what it's all about. It comes back full circle then. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you start the morning, and it sounds like every day you're really working on that culture of community.
Right.
Yeah. Really important.
Right.
And I want to extend that to, in terms of Franklin, to now the grown-ups in the school, your colleagues, because it seems like you have such incredible relationships with the colleagues, educators, administrators. Can you say a little bit about that collegiality?
Yeah. It's interestingly enough that you combine the two, because I feel like the kids see how we interact with each other, and they pick up on that. And our relationships with each other are so important as well, and it kind of gives a role model to the students of how they should interact with each other. And I am so thankful to be at Franklin, because our staff is so collaborative. We're very supportive, and we work together, and yeah, it's like my family.
It really is a family. It really is a community for sure. And you, speaking of family, you talked about your sister. I know that she is a real influential person for you, a close person for you, and a teacher.
Yeah.
So has she shared with you some insight around teaching, or do you feel like just rubbing elbows has rubbed off in terms of teaching, or how has she influenced you as a professional?
Yeah, it's been such an amazing experience becoming and continuing my teaching profession with her by my side. And I'm just so grateful. Not only is she like my older sister that I look to, in my personal life, but also in my professional life. And it's been amazing. And she has taught me so many things inside and outside of the classroom that I'm so grateful for.
It's so special to have that bond with somebody in your family. I know many people out there have close relationships with sisters and brothers, but to have somebody who is in the same profession as you, it's very, very special, I think, to share so many things.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. So we talked a little bit ago about the culture and the community in your classroom and at your school. Let's talk about your classroom and talk student engagement, which is a little bit different. It's really working on how students are engaged with what you're having them do, right? So say a little bit about that, because I know you use a lot of energy and resources to make sure that students are engaged.
Yes, I'm definitely always looking for the next up and coming strategy, or the now kind of what is is getting the kids more engaged or more involved. And so I'm always trying new strategies and implementing new techniques. But I would say some of the best practices I've seen results with are implementing like technology. I think technology for students, it's the now. It connects us to the real world events, and it's the students' world. And it gives them a kind of ownership of them now becoming also the instructors in the class, because then they get to teach, how to use certain platforms to each other. They get to not only connect with students in the class, but other students outside of the classroom. And that to them really brings in the engagement. So that piece has been really great in getting them engaged. Other strategies that I use are, I'm really big on goal setting with my students. So we do a lot of goal setting and then monitoring those goals and our progress.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask about technology,
Okay.
and I want to ask about a strategy. So just really quick on technology.
Yes.
Some of the things that people who are watching might think about is kind of doing a lesson and looking something up, or writing a paper and typing it on an iPad and calling that a use of technology.
Right.
And I think at one point that was the beginning evolution of it. And I know it's so much richer than that. It's using technology in ways that to learn in ways that if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to learn as well.
Right.
So what can you say a little bit about maybe an example of that in your 5th grade class and this year or last that really engages for us so we can really feel it?
Technology is getting them involved in the process. So, when, for instance, it's not me up there teaching and them listening and taking notes. Instead, it's them in the actual action of using technology to learn themselves on the platform. So it's that shift of, let me just, it's more of the critical thinking piece for them to create, to be innovators, instead of, let me just copy down what I'm supposed to do or transfer it over to, say, technology.
So real active and not passive.
Right.
And really engaged by processing, and creating. That's really exciting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because we talk about technology a lot in classrooms, but we really want to know, what does that look like in terms of being different and more innovative and engagement? So I appreciate that a lot.
Definitely.
Something that I've heard you talk about too are English learner development strategies that really are engaging for students. And I know that you've had professional development around that. You've thought about it a lot. You're using it in classrooms. What's an example of an ELD, English language development strategy, that you might use for your students?
Wow, there's so many. I would say repetition is one. Even my students, I'll say, okay, say it with me, read it with me all day long. Repetition, we do a lot of color coding of things, a lot of visuals that go along, and a lot of, in my class, we actually have a student whose uncle is deaf or hard of hearing. And she has taught us sign language. So we include a lot of sign language. And so I also include a lot of hand movements, and I talk with my hands a lot. So that has incorporated in another strategy of kind of, getting my ELD curriculum, underway.
Lots of things happening in your classroom for sure, and it sounds to me that it is such a community. People know their children know each other's families and strengths and all of that. It's really exciting. Let's talk about after school, because you actually involved at Franklin in an after school program too. It actually isn't academic at all. It's really around movement, it seems like. Can you share with us about that?
Sure, that's my really fun piece. I really enjoy it because I get to work with some of my students, but also students from the whole school. So I get to, with the little ones as well. So, but it brings kind of all of us together, and it really promotes self-esteem and teaches them how to value themselves and each other, and how to be a leader. And through that, I've really seen the girls transform. And I'm a strong believer, I'm super passionate about, the reason why I wanted to be a teacher is to help children find and use their voices. And I think that's just another outlet for them to do so. And yeah, I mean, once they really start valuing themselves, then you really see them in their own situations, you know, being the leaders, solving their problems, and they believe in themselves so much that they then know now, wow, I can make a difference. I can do this. So that's great to see that come full circle.
And this is through dance and yoga
Yeah.
and cheer. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I bet you those three things are things you've experienced. too.
Yes.
So these are things that you've
Those
experienced.
are, enjoyments I have in my personal life. And how I, you know, have learned to love myself and value myself.
That's great.
So I thought, you know, well, I can bring it into Franklin, and it's been a huge hit with the girls. So.
I can imagine that the students just run to the after school program with you and see their teacher in it, or not only their teacher, but others who aren't in your classroom, but see an adult in a different way, having a good time, but also being a leader in other ways.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting. So Katie, let's talk about your Distinguished New Educator title, one of 3 in Santa Barbara County for 2019. Again, congratulations. Really, really excited. And I would like to know, how did you hear that you were selected, and what was your reaction to that?
I was like, wow, me? No, you know, I'm still super excited, and you know, my school Franklin has been doing amazing things in the last couple. I mean, with our test scores raising and everything, it's just I'm so happy to be recognized and also to be a part of our school. And, you know, it just makes me feel really proud for, you know, my school, and my students are so proud.
Are they?
Yeah.
How do you know that? What did you see or hear? What did they say?
Furden's famous.
That is so great.
You know, and I have parents that walk up to me and hug me, and, you know, it just, you know, it's been such a great experience.
Oh, that is so great. Well, the reason you were selected, I am sure, and I know too, but I'm sure the reason why you've been selected, one reason is the impact and influence you have on youth. I mean, clearly that's really what it's all about. But if we turn the table, in speaking with teachers and knowing you and how much you are passionate about teaching, we know that children actually impact us, and that's really why we do this too. It goes both ways. In your experience so far, have there been a few families or students that stand out in terms of their examples of how they've impacted you? Or can you say a little bit about kind of what strikes you in terms of that impact on you as a teacher?
Yeah, definitely. Wow, there's been a lot. You know, as a whole, I would say the children as a whole, I would say that they have really taught me to slow down and to appreciate all of the small things. You know, like I celebrate them and their small successes, or I always am watching them overcome small challenges. But then for me, you know, it's kind of a nice reminder for myself, you know, wow, like you should also be celebrating your small successes and, you know, your small overcoming challenges. And so that for me has been, wow, like, you know, kind of opens up my eyes. And so I've learned to really appreciate the small things.
It's really an important life lesson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that with me and for those who are viewing too. It really is. Slowing down, the small things are really big things sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, it really is true. So the recognition came out of the teacher induction program. So you were a new teacher and were recognized by mentors as an incredible new teacher. Can you say a little bit about that mentor program, the induction program, and what it meant for you?
Yeah, I am very thankful that I went through that 2-year program. Just all the support that I had even at my school and with my mentor. I would say the lessons that we created together, it really brought in the assessment piece for me that was kind of missing. I would say I've always been really strong with my classroom management and my student connections, and then I really focused on assessment, and that really brought in that missing piece for me, and it actually made me end up being more connected with my students because I was really able to track their progress, and we did it together, and we've been doing it together, and that was kind of the missing piece. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing about that. And so as I'm thinking about the induction program, there are beginning teachers in it who are clearing credentials. There are mentor teachers in it who are often veteran teachers who are really wanting to support and give back. And so I wanted to ask you about potentially some mentors you've had in your life, whether it was in the program or just in life, in terms of impacting you.
Yeah.
And I know there are probably many. There usually are for all of us. But is there anyone that's really inspired you, mentored you as a teacher? I know you talked about your sister. So and this one, let's say,
leave her out.
yeah, because we've already talked about her. But someone in the profession that's really impacted you or influenced you.
yes, I would say my coworker and lifelong friend, Katie Boozer.
Tell us about Katie.
Katie Boozer is a third grade teacher at Franklin, and not only have we been friends since we were 4 years old, she has really inspired me for a teacher. She's, the one that I go to when, in the first couple years at Franklin, I don't know what this is or how to use this. And she was always there to, always has been there to answer my questions or help me. She also taught 5th grade in the same classroom that I am in now. So, she's been great with supporting me and getting the year started during my first and second and even third year. But she's really focused on getting students up and moving. And it's been such an inspiration to watch her transform her classroom, and that just rubs off on the whole school, and it's been great working alongside her.
That's great.
Yeah.
And a lifelong friends since you've been 4.
Yeah.
You have a lot of dirt on one another, I'm sure. No dirt, but just great stories, probably.
Yeah.
And Katie was a Distinguished New Educator as well, I believe. So pretty neat to have that camaraderie and collegiality and friendship.
Yeah, definitely.
And family. And she is somebody who, seems to be evolving and growing as an individual. And boy, does that spread through the school and as a friendship for sure. That's really exciting. Thank you for sharing that. So Katie, I would like to know about what you think make great qualities for as a teacher. And I'm thinking about people who might be watching and considering being a teacher, or people who are reflecting back on their teachers and listening to you. In your opinion, what makes the qualities of a great teacher? What are some of those characteristics?
Passion. I definitely think that, that needs to drive your everything, but passion, being a lifelong learner, high energy, being a go-getter, and an active listener, I would say, is really important. And being okay with failing sometimes, being okay with, trying new things, and and also reflecting. I mean, being able to reflect back and then improve or, only grow from there, I would say is key.
Really key.
Yeah.
And I want to turn that question just a little bit. So what I asked earlier had to do with those who might be thinking about teaching or have thought about their teachers and they're looking back a little bit. But I just want to turn it a little bit to a different question. And I'm really intrigued by this, which is, we're working with students kindergarten through 12th grade. And after 12th grade, we want our students to be successful in life. And they're going to choose multiple professions, many different, maybe one, but maybe many. When you think about students who are graduating 12th grade and what kind of skills that they need to have these days, this might be the same answer, but I just want to just ask you, what do you think some of the skills that you would say you would advise our high school students when they're going ready to college? This is what, please do this, know this. This is what's going to help you be successful. What is some advice you'd give to our youth?
Being an effective communicator.
Okay.
Learning how to communicate. I would say perseverance and believing in yourself is key. Valuing yourself and believing that you can achieve and going after what you want and not giving up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good advice. And I'll take that too. I know one of the people that we've talked about as we've discussed, we've been able to have conversations through the year, but is your principal at Franklin Elementary. Can you talk about her support and what that means to you?
Yes, I'm very thankful that I have Casey Kilgore as a principal and as a mentor. And she is, I mean, she's the heart of our school. Or as one of my students referred to her as the owner. But
she's the owner of the school. I love that.
No, she's the glue. She keeps us all together, and she's very supportive. She's there when you need her, and yeah, it's been a great experience having her. I've been very lucky having her as a principal.
And I think she would say the same about having you as a teacher at Franklin Elementary for sure. I can't believe the time goes so quickly as we talk here and get a chance to learn about you and your experience, your journey so far. I know you're going to continue to contribute and impact the educational community, but also the world with what you're doing with our students. And as we close, I'd really like to ask you if you have anything you'd like to share with your students who are watching now today or when they watch. What is it that you'd want to say to them?
I would say to them, the time to be you is now. And when given the choice, always be you.
And what would you like to say to parents out there in terms of supporting students in education and what they can be mindful of?
I would tell parents, and this is what I do tell parents, is I understand that your home life can be really busy, and but we need to celebrate our children, and your child has successes that we can share, and here's how we can do it, and let's work together.
And when you see parents working with their youngsters, are there certain things that you see that they do that you would say, oh gosh, I wish it would be great if all parents did this? Maybe reading at night together or walking to school together. Or do you see some practices that you think would be really effective? What are a couple?
Definitely, like you said. I mean, any time that you can spend with your child uninterrupted, not on your phone, not on computer, like any of that designated time that you can spend with your child is so important. And I mean, I know like life can be really busy, but they need that attention, and that's just just be there for them. Kids are resilient, but they do need their parents.
That is incredible advice coming from a distinguished new educator from Santa Barbara County, Katie Furden. We appreciate your time today, your words of wisdom and advice, your energy and passion for teaching. We are so fortunate, truly, in the educational community to have you as a teacher, Franklin Elementary community to have you as a teacher. We really are inspired by you and really appreciate that you've chosen this incredible profession of teaching. So thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you so much for joining us today for this edition of Talking with Teachers.